On Monday, President Joe Biden declared a new world order is here and the United States is going to lead it.
We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
Now, this, of course, set Twitter on fire all day Monday. But let me take a different perspective than you're even getting from conservative media, because obviously those of us on the conservative ideological side of the aisle have been warning you literally for decades that the globalists want a new world order. We understand fully what the globalist agenda is: to force all of us into a police surveillance state where even everything right down to your money is digital, so they can control where you spend it, what you spend it on, and even if you are allowed to have access to your own money to spend it. I.e., the great experiment called vaccine passports, where they wanted you to have that digital passport to prove that you are current on your vaccination status. Otherwise, if you weren't, not only would you not be granted admission into certain places and venues, but in India, they were linking it to people's money. Literally what they needed to survive by. Now, in India, they don't so much deal, especially if you're in the poor class, with money as they do your allotment of food that you are allowed to have, courtesy of the government. And if you were not considered vaccine current, you couldn't go get your food. You couldn't use your driver's license. You couldn't access your passport, etc., etc., etc. So we fully understand what is meant by the globalist agenda for a new world order. George Soros has been salivating for this literally for years. And, Chomsky was right. We have actually been in a form of a new world order since the end of World War II. And one of the big signals that went up for the globalists back in the day was, of course, the United Nations. Now, we understand how all of that is getting ready to culminate. And for those of you that are not just conservatives, but you are Christians and you understand something about Bible prophecy, you understand that all of this is going to come to pass. But, while we understand that George H.W. Bush talked about a new world order and the United States leading the way, and Henry Kissinger talked about a new world order, and we hear officials from Australia and even in Great Britain talk about a new world order. Does anyone actually believe that Joe Biden is capable of leading a new world order? I'm not just talking about here in the United States. I'm talking about, do world leaders actually see Joe Biden as the guy they're going to get behind? Now, I am not by any stretch of the imagination naive enough to believe that they're not going to try, that they aren't going to seize this opportunity. I mean, what is Joe Biden talking about here to a group of business leaders? Hey, with all of the turmoil that we've got going on right now, a war between Russia and Ukraine, and we're going to collapse the Russian economy, and the American economy is in stagnation and inflation like never before, and we've got people around the world that are upset over lockdowns, and we have supply chain issues, and we have oil issues. What a great time for us to thrust the new world order down people's throats, because again, the socialist agenda, though it tries to present itself and advertise itself as friendly, benign, helpful, the only way it ever gets implemented is by force, and you will like it. Look at Canada. Do you get a more, I'm sorry, wimp country on the planet than Canada? And look at what Justin Trudeau did when he finally got some pushback from, of all people, truck drivers. I mean, he sent the police in there like thugs, cracking skulls. Even when these guys were, hands behind their head and kneeling, the police would come up, crack them over the head, and when they got them on the ground, beat the daylights out of them. Where was the Rodney King outcry then? Where was the George Floyd outcry then? These guys had their livelihoods literally taken away from them. Martial law was declared. Their bank accounts were seized. They can't get driver's licenses. They can't get insurance. And that's in a wimp country like Canada. We have Zelensky now being portrayed to the American people as this great hero and defender of democracy. Really? So when they capture Russian soldiers and castrate them, when they capture people within their own borders that are sympathetic to Russia, which basically means they don't want to be part of the West, they like their Russian heritage and culture and wanted Ukraine to figure out a way to play nice with Russia, because again, you won't get this on the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream propaganda media. Ukraine was not overwhelmingly in support of a Western alliance and a NATO alliance. In fact, the country was pretty evenly split right down the middle. So you know what you do when you're split down the middle? You stay neutral. You try to, if you can be friendly and get something from the West, great. And stay friendly and get something from Putin, well, okay, because that's where your culture's at. That's where your people are at. But Zelensky, being the pimp whore that he is, and having thrown all kinds of money for years at Joe Biden through crack-addicted Hunter Biden, and I promise you, it wasn't because of Hunter, and it wasn't just that they were hoping to buy access. They were buying access, and you better believe that at least half that money that passed through Hunter's fingers went straight to Daddy Biden. So, Zelensky arresting his political adversaries, outlawing political parties which are opposed to him, seizing control of all media outlets, shutting down channels which spoke against him. I'm even being told that there are people being shrink-wrapped to lampposts, and there's pictures of this, and then left to die because they're not given any food or water. This is Zelensky. Some of you libloons, and even some of you bleeding heart, nut job, so-called quasi-Christians that post on your Facebook page, I'm standing with Ukraine, and Zelensky's a hero. He's a hero. No, he's not. He's a murderous thug like Putin. He's just not as good at it. Because he hasn't had the clout that Putin has had, because Putin's been on the world stage because of the country that he leads. Nobody even heard of Zelensky until all this happened, and now he is playing it like a rock star. And the whole reason Russia invaded, you think they're scared of Putin? Come on, even liberal pundits, even liberal entertainers are now understanding that Joe Biden has zero respect in the world. Even among our allies, nobody listens to him. He can't even beg for a gallon of gasoline. Germany doesn't want to talk to him. France, what a joke they are. I mean, nobody on this planet listens to Joe Biden. And even liberals are acknowledging this would not have happened under Donald Trump.
If Putin thought Trump was really that supportive of him, why didn't he invade when Trump was in office? It's at least worth asking that question if you're not locked into one intransigent thought.
Apparently, Saudi Arabia won't even pick up the phone for the President of the United States. There is no denying that Saudi Arabia isn't playing ball with Joe Biden. And you know what? You can say what you want, but this would have never happened to Donald Trump. Never. No one was ever ignoring Donald Trump's calls. Yeah, because if you ignored Donald Trump's calls, you didn't know how he would respond. Maybe he'd send an angry tweet, or maybe he'd just ban your country from everything. You don't know. That's why I bet in these situations, Biden actually wishes that he could hire Trump to step in as President Wildcard. Just keep everyone on their toes.
So on the one hand, while yes, obviously I am concerned when I hear the president of the free world talk about a new world order, on the other hand, he's not capable of rallying the support for this. And there's a way you need to maybe look at this, and I'm specifically now talking to you Christian conservatives out there. Scripture says the curse causeless shall not come. In other words, God has a way of when man has set a plan in place and he's got an evil intent on his mind and he's heading directly into it. He's got his face set like a flint and he's going in that direction. God has a way once in a while of just kind of flipping it right around and bringing it all back on the person perpetrating it. It just may be God is using this to really reset the hourglass, to really reset time. And using someone like Joe Biden to talk about, here comes the New World Order. And I know what some of you are going to say. But Pastor Marty, he's just a puppet, and it's the people behind the scenes we got to be afraid of. Look, they're always there. They're always at work. Donald Trump is proof of that. They worked against him from day one. So the puppet masters, they're always there, but they still need the front guy. That's still required. And right now, nobody's listening to this front guy. And it just may be, here's a neat way of thinking about this. God is allowing this to happen for a time such as this so that the entire globalist ideal actually implodes. And they got to do a reset on it. And that could take years, decades, to get the American people and the world lined up to be in a place ready for it again. Because the only way it's going to happen right now, this very moment, is every world leader has to hammer it down people's throats whether they want it or not. And after a 2.5-year pandemic, which we're finding out more and more was really more about Dr. Fauci just trying to be, quote, relevant. He's already out there 24 hours after a lot of us pointed out, look, he's come out of retirement. And I said, I was one of the only people in conservative media to say, yeah, he's off the reservation. The Biden people don't want him out there. And a couple of you tweeted to me, oh, yes, they do. No, Biden's already out there today retracting, saying, well, there's going to be, cases are going to go up with the new variant to Omicron, but this isn't going to be serious. There's really nothing to worry about. Team Biden got to him and said, shut up. You are done, and we are done with this. We're moving on. And the world is there. Everybody's there. And so their ship has sailed on a lot of what it is that they would like to do right now. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Because when Biden stands up there and talks about a new world order, I'm telling you what the world's doing. They're looking at that going, what, we want to be drooling on ourselves, dementia-ridden old bats like him? You've got Democrats in the suburbs now saying in polls, you know, the country did at least work when Donald Trump was in office. Everything has gotten worse under Joe Biden is the absolute worst president in American history. He has taken that title away from Jimmy Carter. Our economy is worse. He did not restore faith and law and order and all these things. He had no magic bullet to end COVID. We've got a crisis at the border, and you libloons that lie and say, oh, the Biden administration deports more people than Trump did. How about let's put that in context of why that was. Trump didn't need to do a lot of deporting, especially the last 2 years of his administration. He was stopping them at the border. They weren't getting in. The reason Joe Biden's deportations are up, it's based on the percentages of we've got this river, this floodgates are open and they're just pouring in, and ICE is actually able to round some of them up and send them back. But those that are getting in and staying far outnumber what we're sending back. And we didn't have to send them back like that under Trump because he stopped them at the border. You know, context and truth are wonderful things, something that you'll never get from the lying legacy, corporate, corrupt mainstream media. So let Joe Biden give his speech about the new world order, and we understand. On one hand, you get concerned because like they're getting emboldened. They're talking about it out loud, and I'm telling you, he hasn't got what it takes to unite world leaders. And the reason they're gasping at this now, they're actually behind closed doors scared. Not just scared of the nationalism that has risen up in this country and people wanting Trump back, and not just Trump supporters. The world takes a look at what Putin is doing and uniting with China. And what did I tell you 2 weeks ago when all this first happened? Putin was going to laugh off the sanctions. And he and China would unite, and they're going to bring India into it with them. And now it looks like South Africa, apartheid. We turned it back over to complete African black control. And you would think that they would owe their lives to liberalism because of that. Nope. They're going to join with Putin. And they're going to create an alternative economy. And at first, it will be lampooned and laughed at. I don't really pay any attention anymore to faux pas news, formerly known as Fox News, which I call fake news. But on their website came up today that, they've seized one of Putin's yachts. And just looking at the lavish lifestyle while the people in Moscow are anguishing from sanctions. I don't know who they're writing those headlines to. If people in America are dumb enough to believe that, go for it. I'm not saying that Vlad Putin doesn't live like a rich guy. He is one of the richest on the planet. But the people in Russia are not languishing. No matter what spin you hear about low morale, etc., that's having no effect on the people of Russia. The Russian soldiers, they're just grief-stricken that they've been dragged into it. No, they're not. No, they're not. That's the spin that we keep telling our people to keep them engaged. Like, yeah, stick it to them, Ukraine, while we use Ukraine to be basically lambs to slaughter so we can fight our proxy war and make money for the military-industrial complex without dropping any of our own blood. In reality, Russia and China are going to join their economies together, and they may be laughed at by the world at first as the upstart. MySpace laughed off Facebook. Who won that? Back in the day, stores like Sears and even Kmart laughed off Walmart. Oh, they're like based in Arkansas. What can they do to us? Remember when Amazon was just a novelty little website that you could order stuff from online, like a Montgomery Ward catalog? You catching this? So the globalists, knowing that Putin's not part of their plan, and President 11, XI from China, that's Roman numeral. Anyway, if you got to explain it, it's not funny, but to some of us, it's really funny. So President 11 from China and Putin, they're not part of the club. See, on one level, Trump was forced out of the club because he was not part of the club and he couldn't be in the club. And that's why even the political establishment of the Republicans worked behind his back and knifed him and made sure that he was not allowed to return to the Oval Office. Because as I told you, when it comes to career politicians, there's not a nickel's worth of difference between Democrats and Republicans. They are two sides of the same coin, and they're all into it, a global agenda. They do not care a rat's backside about America. And a guy like a Donald Trump is dangerous because he gets people believing in America. And they're trying to tell us now that dictatorial powers and authoritarianism and censorship, that's democracy. When in reality, their global cabal is in trouble because Putin and President 11 are never going to play nice. They're going to be their own world order. So though we need to keep an eye on this, don't panic yet. This very well could be, again, God at work, spinning the tables, saying the curse causeless shall not come, and allowing this to come right back onto these people and blow the whole thing up. Bum, ba-dum, bum.